And then that brings us to the figure of Martin Luther, often considered the signal of the end of the medieval period. And the whole Protestant, and let's call it that, it's a protest against Roman Catholic power. Those Germans got tired of paying taxes to build fabulous cathedrals in Rome. Roman feudal lords also didn't wish to kowtow to bishops any longer. So there's a political and economic aspect to the Protestant Reformation. But it is also theological. Martin Luther is not the first Protestant. John Huss precedes him, and he was burnt at the stake for heresy. For Martin Luther, he shifts, in essence, the authority for the church away from the Pope of Rome to the Bible itself. He will be tried for heresy in the Inquisition, run by the Dominican order. And unlike Galileo, who's going to say, okay guys, the earth is flat, I take it back, Martin Luther said, I will not recant, here I stand, I can do no other, as he's famous for saying. And protected by German princes, literally, he wrote the hymn, A Mighty Fortress is Our God, because he needed a mighty fortress. The Catholics wanted to kill him too. And so while protected by Prince Frederick, he writes a translation from the Greek and Latin of the Bible into German. And with this, he really gets German literature off and running. I think in many ways we can say Martin Luther is the founder of modern German culture. He has some pretty nasty things to say about the popes, as you might imagine. The Pope is a Florentine bastard. That's Martin Luther for you. And with his revolution in religious thought, we see also a revolution of all these Northern Europeans against the Southern Europeans, we can kind of say. A civil war in Europe resulting in the deaths of millions of people. Protestant Catholic wars that linger on today in Northern Ireland, and resentments that linger elsewhere where the border of these two Protestant and Catholic cultures meet. In time, we'll see the emergence of John Calvin, even more harsh than Martin Luther. He'll get rid of all sacraments, save baptism and communion. Weddings and marriages and the like, they're not going to be sacraments. And so he kind of is considered to have gutted the Christian tradition of so many of its rituals and creeds and certainly its hierarchy. Though he will rule with an iron thumb in the city of Geneva, where he too has to be protected from Roman Catholic authorities. King Henry VIII in England also decides paying taxes to Rome and kowtowing to bishops isn't so fun. And so unable to get an official divorce statement from the Pope, well, he splits from the Catholic Church and creates the Episcopalian Church. So the Anglican Church, or Church of England, we can call it, with the head of the church actually now the king. And this becomes the official religion then of England, but it remains very Catholic in structure compared to those Calvinist churches. Those are the ones that will largely permeate and influence the United States, and we'll see almost all presidents are some kind of Calvinist, Christian, Protestant. So that leaves us with then the Orthodox, who we can't consider Protestant. They never split off. They claim to be the original. The Catholics, now spreading throughout Latin America and elsewhere, developing colonies through Spanish and Portuguese acquisitions. And then we have the three major Protestant divisions. The Lutherans up there, the Evangelical or Biblical Church is literally what they call themselves. The Calvinists in Switzerland up through the Netherlands, and on over to the United States in the form of the Puritan Pilgrims, in fact. And then the Episcopalian Church spreading also throughout the world through the dread British Empire. As for the Calvinists, however, we can say one big thing. We see the emergence in England of Oliver Cromwell, a stern Calvinist. He was the first to have his face painted naturally, not prettied up like they do today in the magazines and like they did before realist humanist painting came along. He said, paint me warts and all. And he'll rule England with an iron fist, banning Christmas, it's not in the Bible, and colorful clothing, that's too Catholic. And so black and white fashions come into play, and we'll see the Puritan Pilgrims who established themselves in modern-day Massachusetts will eventually dominate the United States culture landscape.